Oh. Hey. Where's Aaron? Dead. Oh, lost. We don't even have any sound effects right now. Lost in space and
there's Evan.
time, Martin. On a mission we were never meant to return from. We have returned from the horrible secrets of space.
It was horrible. Let me tell you a secret.
We are the Comic Shop Does a Podcast, and I am Evan Coy with my John Henry Irons haircut. We're here. Aaron is currently stuffing a bus, whatever that means. But we're here with a couple very special, one very special guest star.
I think you're the special guest star.
That was me. I'm sorry. I was playing with the Facebook feed,
You're okay.
but I'm not on screen yet either. So I'm the Low-Rent Souffle.
Oh, and we're here with regular guest star.
Michael, don't call me Superboy.
Oh, I didn't even put your real names in there. I just
That's
put your. You're just.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, whatever.
rolling.
It is what it is. This is what happens when Aaron's not here, and we just have to kind of fly by the seat of our pants. Aaron truly is the. Oh, there
It's
he
like we
is.
summoned him.
Wow. Look at that. From the depths.
He's the only one that's not bald.
You guys just started already?
We're already here. We're doing
Try to
it.
show up on
Started.
time.
You said you'd wait.
No, I said you were going to be late. I said okay. Oh, Richard Wallen Jr. has liked the stream.
No, you can either walk in late to this, or I can leave early. It's
Aaron, thank God you're here.
I don't want Martin to leave.
No, I kind of do.
yeah. I'm gonna. No, we're done at
No, we're
7.
done.
I'm
Just
leaving
sit
at
down.
7. Is what I'm saying. So-
We're in
I
different
don't want
spots.
to show any disrespect to Martin.
We're in
no,
different
I just
spots
don't want
today.
to stay here any longer than I have to. And
Oh, okay.
We're in different spots today. You're on my microphone. You get to even work the audio levels. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Turn it-
Oh, yeah, I see you moved the buttons over there.
I did. I don't
you
trust-
want me, you want me to get into the buttons.
I'll still work.
turn
the
it
buttons.
side. Turn your mic sideways. So
No, no, no,
so I can
don't do
hear you.
that.
Good job.
No, stop. Oh.
I gotta get a good room mic. Hello. The room sounds good, right?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. Get that.
All
good
I can
reverb
see is
in there.
playing with that stand. The whole thing's gonna fall off again. But
Yep. He's
Yeah,
gonna
well,
he's gonna Lucy it.
Lucy taught me something very
Mm-hmm.
important, and I'm going to use it on the podcast today.
what did she teach you?
How to rip this off the table.
Oh, she taught us that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember lessons a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You-
I
yeah.
learned something new from my daughter every day.
Oh, we're off to a great start. We're talking today about we did Superman a few weeks ago, and I'm not sure how we decided to come back to Superman again.
Oh, it was for Steel. We just wanted to watch a movie,
Yeah, we just wanted to watch a bad movie.
and we wanted to see if we can get a dislike on our YouTube stream for another Superman-based.
We did. We got
did we
we
get
got
it?
our
Yeah,
first
right?
dislike on it.
dislike?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
On YouTube?
Yep,
or-
on YouTube.
Oh, good.
For the
Who-
Superman podcast.
Who knows
did.
what we said that was dislikable in that we didn't say in something previous?
Oh, I
'cause
did say I'm not a huge fan of Superman, so that could be it.
Did you
I
really
think we
say
made
that?
fun of Zack Snyder.
Did we?
That could be it.
I think so.
I don't think I did, but like, I can now.
Yeah, say
Not,
something.
not my favorite.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Steel today. Aaron, I also know that you're as big of a fan as if you are of Superman, you're even a bigger fan of Steel.
I am a fan of Steel's creators, Louise Simonson, Victor Bogdanovic, who were inside the X Office for a while. They did some X Factor and some fill-ins in the X Office because Louise Simonson was a big editor in the X Office for a long time.
Martin, you have a
No.
no?
No.
Okay. So we're gonna go back to Death of Superman. This is October of 1990.
Oh, hold on.
I could go
This is
home.
really.
Fireworks displays are more spectacular than the drama that is steelmaking.
Steelmaking, right? That's what we're talking about tonight?
Well, kind of. I mean, that's very much. As soon as you stop that, I'll get into the intro to the Steel movie. We're going to talk about the Steel movie too, the 1997 cinematic masterpiece that is Shaquille O'Neal's superhero debut.
Superhero debut.
Um,
Was he
Steel, yes.
what's the other one? Or is it Genie?
Kazam. That was the year
Kazam.
prior.
Year prior, because
And then Blue Chips in 1994 looks like that was his first movie, which I kind of forget how large of a role he played in that, literally and figuratively. But anyway,
Say
Steel.
ball.
Let's go back to Death of Superman, October of 1990. I said 93.
Spoilers.
It's 1992.
Spoilers.
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 Superman
Superman's
dies.
dead.
He died 31 years ago.
Oh.
Roughly 31 years ago. And he was replaced by 4 different Supermen. Michael, who were the Supermen?
We are looking at John Henry Iron Steel, Cyborg Superman, Hank Henshaw, Kryptonian Clone, Connor Kent, Don't Call Me Superboy, and last but certainly not least, a Kryptonian clone of Superman himself, whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Eradicator.
Or
Eradicator.
Glasses man.
Eradicator.
Did he have a-
Safety glasses.
He had a different name.
A Kryptonian name?
Yeah, he had.
It was fairly generic.
Yeah.
Jim L.
It was not John though, which we'll get into the
We'll call him Jim L.
John confusions later.
Yeah, too many Supermen named John. It does get confusing. So how we got into this was the John Henry Irons Superman, one of the 4 that replaced Superman when he died, was probably my favorite.
I love his design. I think it's super neat. For as cool as Cyborg Superman is, and Superboy is my personal favorite of the mix, I think John Henry Irons does a great job of capturing the essence of Superman, the character. Once again,
Much
something we'll
better
talk
than
about later.
Last Son.
Yes. And
That was Eradicator's name.
Okay.
and conceptually, his design is super cool, based on American mythology. Named after John Henry, the great man who beat a locomotive. Yeah, really
fought
great,
a,
really
fought a
great
locomotive and won.
costume.
He's an
Steel
inspiration in
Times.
his time of the humans versus AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
And also
the-
Man of Steel. I mean, come on. It just makes itself.
Well, I think his design was the most visually
appealing.
like Superboy's. I liked. I thought it was fun. It's definitely a product of its time where it's super 1990s. And when they bring him back with his little curly Q and his round glasses, like it's fun because it's a product of the 90s. But I don't know, the design and the leather jackets, it's okay.
Well, it's all those styles and trends are back now too. So,
Yeah.
So
Cyborg Superman to me was too much of a T2 Terminator trying to capture that whole vibe, which I feel like Terminator 2 was around that same time too, right? 1992.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the summer blockbuster that year. So hey, Cyborg Man, that's there's a big truck going.
Speaking
by.
of T2,
I bet Phil was responsible for that.
He probably was.
there's a tractor trailer.
Apologies to Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Who else? The Kryptonian Superman clone with his funky green. I thought that was kind of lame.
Mm-hmm.
But John Henry Irons, I think, had a very distinct visual that set him apart from the rest of the pack, made him a fun wearer of that Superman S. And I think we talked about this too, Michael, that or maybe even Martin. In the comics, he was the one that was written most closely to maybe a Clark Kent type
Yes.
personality, how he
Yeah.
carried himself.
In fact, it makes sense that you would love the Man of Steel, John Henry, so much and dislike Kryptonian Superman because they do nothing but fight in the comics. A big point of contention between the Kryptonian clone of Superman and Steel is Steel will not kill. He's upholding the value of Superman. He took up the mantle in the first place because Superman saved his life during the Doomsday fight, and
Yeah. So what was
Superman-
the gimmick with that? He was working on a construction
He was
site
working
or
on a
something.
construction site. He tried to grab somebody who was falling, and he fell himself. Superman grabbed him, saved him, and he asked Superman how he could repay him, and he said, "Live a life worth living." So when Superman died, John's thought process was to take up the mantle of Superman, which is pretty admirable. Whereas back to the Kryptonian.
What an
Superman,
ego!
Back to Kryptonian Superman, he was not opposed to killing anyone. He believed in the Kryptonian philosophy of you need to eradicate everyone that's weaker than you. I don't know
Is
if
that
that's
the Kryptonian philosophy?
I
Is
don't
the
know if it's
Kryptonian
a
way?
straight philosophy, but they seem to care a whole lot about conquering people and not caring too much about
would that be your
anyone else
take,
that's not
Martin?
a Kryptonian. I also know they don't like clones at all.
Yeah.
Oh.
For some reason, yeah, that's why even Superman isn't really a big fan of Connor Kent because he's a clone, and Kryptonians always have problems with clones. In fact, it's Kryptonians.
They saw those Star Wars films.
Yeah, Kryptonians were known for using clones to test spaceships and other things that they didn't want to sacrifice good Kryptonian scientists on. So, yeah.
Flipping back to what makes Steel so good, Tier's talking about it. At one point, Lois observed that Steel was simultaneously the only one of the 4 Supermen that had the quality that made Superman who he was, and was also the only one who most certainly wasn't Superman.
Well, and I think that's what I liked about him too. Is like you knew that this wasn't Superman. The others are at a certain point in time. There's a little bit of mystery. Is this really Superman? John Henry Irons is just like, no, I'm taking up his mantle.
Yes.
And I'm going to live the values and ethics that Clark Superman espoused, and but I'm going to do it my own way with this big suit of armor and yeah, truth, justice, and all that jazz.
Yeah, I think Steel looks best with that big ass on the design.
Now, do you know why he removed it from his costume?
No.
Because on his second time taking up the mantle, he had to exact revenge on some people, and he thought that he would be going on the other side of the law in some areas, and he didn't want to tarnish the Superman S, the symbol of peace, with ill intent.
I like that gimmick.
Yeah.
Well, fair
and then
enough.
He brought it back later.
But okay. Well,
Yeah,
as
it came
far
back-
as,
it comes
as
back.
Because I did a little bit of research, and whenever he shows up without that icon on his chest, it's just not as visually.
No, it's not as visually
interesting.
Well, I mean,
appealing.
look at the image behind us from
Behind
the
us, yeah.
movie. Like it's
It
just
could be anybody.
it's just disappointing that there's not that big S on his chest, and I understand that they wanted to steer away from the comic mythos, maybe, but like
I'm just looking at that right now and thinking Tony Stark's looking at it and goes, "My first armor, I want to make it something like the Steel one, but not as cheesy and horrible."
It does
Yeah.
kind of look like War Machine. You're right.
Oh, I like War Machine too, but John Henry Irons is kind of the closest that DC has to like a Tony Stark analog, because he's a smart guy. His origin has been retconned a few times.
I do think, at one point in time, does he join the Justice League?
Yes.
Because Batman makes the argument that there's not enough
Brains, there's
brains.
So much brawn.
It's all brawn.
Yeah.
And they want somebody like a John Henry Irons to come
Yeah.
aboard with, like, we just need smarter people
Mm-hmm.
as part of this group to help to fight all the cosmic baddies. Not those type of baddies, Cecilia.
Baddies.
But and even at one point in time too, I think he even said that he becomes like the leader of like the Justice League Reserve or whatever.
Yeah,
So if
like-
all the main core are off of Earth, he's kind of
Him
the
and
guy-
Huntress are coming in.
Yeah, as the brains of the backup.
Him and Huntress. It
Yeah, I
seems-
can't remember anybody else.
Seems like kind of
Yeah.
a lopsided a group there. Nothing against Huntress, but like a Superman analog and
Nothing against Huntress, but she's a pathetic, weak character who can do nothing to save the Justice League. We get what you're saying.
oh, I mean, she teams up with the Question. That was a lot of fun.
Was it?
No,
And what?
no, I didn't
You-
like it at all.
Are you serious?
No,
I think you're
I'm
lying.
just being a jerk.
Yeah, clearly. I'm not-
Michael, tell us more about John Henry Irons, his relationship with that. What was the corporation he was working for?
Oh
and
my goodness! I
I
was.
got it.
Yeah, I'm
Do ya?
gonna have Martin Wikipedia that one for me.
because again, he's a guy that comes from this military technology background.
Yes.
He's an inventor. He's working on these weapons, and then he gets
Ameritech.
Ameritech. That's what I thought, but he kind of gets disgusted with using these weapons for evil. But he's kind of a Tony Stark type, a working man's, a blue collar,
We need more chewing on the mic.
a blue collarish
happening?
Tony Stark. You know, that doesn't. Where does he get his money from? I guess that's an interesting point, because in the movie, he's literally in a junkyard with a couple goofy people that are sourcing parts and things like that to build his armor and his weapons.
Because the director said he's a blue collar Batman.
Yeah,
I believe he's an architect. of
John
some
Henry
sort?
Irons?
No,
No?
That's John Stewart.
John Stewart. Thank you.
He's,
Different
he's,
John.
he's an engineer. He was in the military. I think he was. It was military contracts through
He worked
Ameritech.
construction in between him escaping from Ameritech and
Well,
being.
because his inventions were being used to hurt people, so
Exactly.
he wanted to leave and make a break, and to make ends meet in between, he did construction.
Martin, how come when you like the podcast, it doesn't show up in a big
I
colorful letters?
want to know
and then
why
when
as
on somebody
well.
else, because I just realized it's showing me that
Yeah.
you liked it,
Yeah, but I don't get any credit for it.
but Rick, when Rick did it, a big bold thing last week when Tressa did it, and who else did
Yeah,
it?
everyone was doing it.
A big bold
yeah.
thing, and then when you do it, it doesn't show
Nothing.
up. So I don't know what that is. Well, I mean, I didn't want to say it out loud. But do we want to look through some older? Do we have some? We kind of have a background on Steel now. Do we want to look at some Steel
Sure.
stuff? Or
We
and
have-
what inspired this too is there's a new Steel series out, Steelworks, and so we all kind of read the Steelworks series, and written by Michael Dorn.
Star Trek's
Oh,
Lieutenant Worf.
dang. Okay.
Yes.
Why do we lead with that?
We are
It's
right
not
now.
that well written.
No, it's good. I think actually the story's pretty solid. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I think there's enough
Yeah.
compelling stuff in there, and the art's very pretty. And But let's look at some old Steel stuff first.
We've only got 3 issues of the Michael Dorn series, but yeah, let's look at old Steel. So I'm sure many people remember having this book, or one of the 3 others that also
die
had
cut.
a
Look at
good
that.
little
Yeah,
die
you
cut.
remember that, right?
But not real foil. We're doing the shiny effect. And there's Victor Bogdanovic doing his best Dennis Cowan.
Yes.
Yes.
No, John.
John.
John Bogdanovich.
Yes.
Oh, that's
what
how
did
you
I
say
say?
that
Did I
last
say
Victor.
name?
Victor?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Did you say that earlier too?
Yeah, that's what I
and
was
that's why you
looking.
threw me
I'm
an
like,
eyeball?
Why am I throwing a Victor on it?
Just
I
for
don't
fun. Movie parallel. Steel also likes to play basketball in the comic books.
And Coneheads came out at the same time as
Coneheads, yeah. This is a great start. So
oh, it's amazing.
I can't remember how many times I've read this book, but it takes quite a while for Steel himself to actually show up in it in his suit. There's
Like
a
in
nice,
the movie.
Yeah, yes, just like in the movie. Very good.
3
The
hours.
movie, the movie does take forever for him to get in the suit. We did agree.
Well, they probably looked at the suit and said, "Let's keep him out of it as long as possible."
Yeah.
Yeah, we start with a not a nice, but a drive-by
Whoa.
shooting. Leaving
As
somebody
far as
dead.
drive-by shootings go, I think that one was nice.
That was nice.
There was no suffering for whoever got incinerated, at least.
Oh, remember the Rocky? What? Can we just look at the advertisements?
Of course.
What's the advertisement
Brox.
there?
Brax,
Oh, Brox.
Rocks. Chewy fruit candies.
Brox rocks.
Yep.
That's the next Nick
Ooh.
Cognetti parody, right?
Yeah.
Maybe what? Unless we beat him to it.
Here we have flashback panels, as indicated by black and white, where
I like
Steel
that.
Steel is retelling his origin, where he tried to save somebody else, lost his balance himself, and was rescued just in the nick of time by Superman.
It's too bad they couldn't have set that up like 30 issues earlier.
Yeah, that's a
I like how you think they would plan that far ahead.
Exactly. Back then, they might have.
good point.
Oh,
Mario Brothers movie.
Really, we just need to do a podcast with
Of
90s ads.
And Super Mario Brothers, the new movie, just lost the #1 movie of the year
Yes.
crown to Barbie.
Aaron, do you know?
And-
I was going to
to
say, I
Barbie?
was going to make Aaron
No,
guess,
guess.
to Barbie.
And
I've seen both of them.
Have you?
Charles
I liked Mario
Martinet
Brothers and I liked Barbie.
also. So the original, the voice actor from Super Mario 64 up to present just retired also. So we have a new voice of Mario. So
He's-
it's been a very Mario year.
He's still associated with Nintendo, though. He will
That's good.
he's just a brand ambassador now or something
All
like
right,
that, where
cool.
he's going to go around and probably just do cons and things like that and show up on stage when they're doing a new Mario game or
I'm
whatever.
cool
But
with that.
I
That's
saw
great.
I saw that they're doing a animated version of Chris Pratt's life, and he's going to do the voice for Chris Pratt.
they're very good.
Very good. All right,
It's only right.
here we go. We're
Oh, I love
there we
that
go.
page.
yeah. I really like this whole block here, starting right down here with the forging of the suit, him holding up his helmet here. What I'm fighting is a deadlier kind of machine, is the thought process that's going through his head. I also really like the big earrings that John has throughout this
Now,
comic.
would you tear this page apart and glue it to something?
I have actually torn most of the panels of these pages apart and put them on a collage with the front panel of Steel here being the origin. I did that for
As
all
featured
4.
in the background of the Facebook ads for this podcast.
There's something about the
art.
posture
Oh, wow, thank you.
in that splash page, which I hate a right-hand splash page.
Yeah.
But there's something about the posture of him in that just looks so badass to me.
He's intimidating.
Yeah. There's some swagger there or something like that where
And we talked about this earlier too with the sledgehammer in the movie. I like just the bare bones, regular old
Yeah, I was gonna say
sledgehammer. No special anything.
Mhm.
It's
No red
it's-
buttons.
It's simplistic. No red buttons that show up partway through the movie.
Right there on the screen.
oh, Manteal.
Because
Man.
it has an analog
Oh,
to
there's
the Legend
I
of
forgot
John Henry,
that there's
right?
Yes.
there's a beautiful pull-out poster in here.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, just the energy that he's giving off in these drawings is amazing.
Look at that car.
That's a good car.
What an impossible angle to draw a car from.
Even got the tires curved out the right way and everything. Yeah, it's great. And then
A vest.
yep. Then
A
we've
vest?
got some. Oh, it's supposed to say the Man of Steel, right? Yeah.
No,
there
I
we
don't
go.
think so.
nothing's
standing in
really
front of a
happening
block
here.
of
We're setting up
TVs.
side plot things, and then we go back to Steel for just a little bit.
I love those rivets on his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
The rivets on the Shaquille O'Neal head are god awful. they're like the Batman nipples, but just on his head.
Yeah, there's. What did you say earlier, Martin? The budget for the costume should have been doubled.
It should have been doubled. There's no reason that should not it shouldn't look like that. It shouldn't look. You shouldn't see it being rubbery and moving the way it does in so many things, especially his faceplate.
Could they not have done silver makeup underneath the mask in order to make the mask complete, to make him more Steel-like? It seems to me like that would have been a possibility.
That
You know,
or
is it a Green Goblin type mask thing where you want to see his
I think you need
expressions
to,
and
it almost-
facial
yeah.
movement? Because it's just a big mask. I think you lose it a
Otherwise,
little bit.
Oh, they should have done what they did with Don Cheadle in Captain Planet, the Captain Planet spoof, and just had the mask be mostly makeup. Then they would have had all the expressions.
Exactly.
exactly.
Michael,
Could have saved some money and had the same impact.
Yes. More impact.
Superman Returns. Or what are the Image comics coming out that month? Go back.
Go back to the
There-
ad.
Oh, I'm
there's
sorry.
image ads and oh yeah, yeah,
In
yeah.
returns, Darker Image #1.
Make sure you say it off the microphone
yeah.
too.
Yep,
Oh,
sorry.
that's right.
It's amazing what the drop was in the headphones.
Darker Image #1. Max #1 and #2.
Yeah.
Wildcats. You could order all 4 issues. Youngblood #0 is up for grabs. Youngblood Strike File #2 and Youngblood Strike File #1.
Oh, looks like Rick did say something on this.
Are we losing comments? What happened there?
The Facebook comments are weird. Keep going though. You're doing
Okay.
a good job.
Thanks. All right. Valiant, we've got Archer and Armstrong, numbers 9 through 14. Bloodshot is numbers 2 through 7. And I'm only going to pick one more Valiant
Yeah,
title.
yeah. And then we'll keep going.
Let's do Turok. Turok #1. Order by 6/1/93 with a limit of 2 per customer.
No limit here at the comic shop. You can buy up to 6.
Rick says, "Gosh, 31 years ago, I remember there was a line out the door to buy all those Death of Superman comics. Sad to think that all the books are in a dollar bin. I'm sure I have a ton of them." And then he says, "LOL." I don't know what that means.
Living on life.
Yes. Lots of lasagna. Thank you. All right,
Wonderful.
let's keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to almost
Yeah.
be done with that
We
issue.
we are. Yeah, we're.
Let's get the
we're-
Aaron Zeeley page turn rate.
My apologies. Let's
No, you're
just,
good.
Great
I
letter.
love the art on
rivet
this.
shooter is so cool. Or
Oh
the
yeah, he's got a gun in his
Yeah.
gauntlet, right?
Rivet, railroad spike shooter, whatever you want to call it.
Ribbit.
Rivet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that
a great
works.
panel where he's breaking through those bricks with
Uh-huh.
the rivet thing and the sound effects.
That was
Another
one of my.
thum thum thum.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's
And
a wham
then-
in there too.
Wow. I'm actually impressed at how long this book does go for.
Some
It's
buns right there.
Yep.
Yep, some
About
bunch of
20
Traditional
mil so
90s.
far.
Traditional 90s fashion. It's got a Mile High Comics ad. Back when you could do the Superman Lives tour and meet all of these people that worked on the Superman properties over the years.
Who was the Superman Lives tour?
Murphy Anderson, John, guy you guys talking about earlier. I don't want to say his last name wrong.
Bogdanovich.
Yes. Mike Carlin, Doug Hazelwood, Dennis Jenka, Gil Kane, Julia Schwartz,
It's
Louise
not Bogdanovich.
Simonson,
It's Bogdanovic.
I think it's Bogdanovic. I
Walt
think there's a hard C.
Simonson, Roger Stern, and Kurt Swan with others to be announced.
We found out that Roger Stern lives not far away,
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
and somebody
cool.
said he would do a podcast.
Oh,
Somebody
for
doesn't
real?
know him, so we should get Roger Stern.
I think so.
So the rest of this issue is plot furthering. Steel doesn't really show up too much one way or another, so I think we're good to move on.
Yeah, I mean that's again my favorite Superman replacement during that, and it wasn't very long.
No.
4 issues, and then I think Superman starts to come back. There's like signs of life that Superman is out
Yes.
there. Is he back for real? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, Funeral for a Friend was pretty much will he, won't he, for 8 issues. Steal Yourself.
What does that even mean?
Well, we talked
I mean,
about
don't pay for this.
Apparently.
Take this out of the store. Screw, and it's a it's not a newsstand issue. So
yourself out of
hurt
the
a small
store.
retailer.
yeah.
Take yourself out of the store. Steal yourself.
That's right.
So this is a little later on into
Yeah, let's just flip through this real quick, and then
Man
maybe
of
we'll
Steel.
go into
yeah.
the movie.
Super
One.
quick.
2.
So this is
3.
Steel fighting the last son of Krypton, like we talked about earlier, where he
Rob
absolutely
Liefeld.
cannot stand. And
Jim Shooter. Come
the
on.
founder of Defiant.
Defiant Comics. You remember that 30 seconds?
How could we
I have
forget?
several of those that I'm
Dark Dominion.
donating.
Who doesn't want every single Dark Dominion book? We
Look
got
at that pose
Supergirl.
of Supergirl. That's a great little drawing there.
That's Cheesecake. We talked about that.
Is it?
Too. That is
A little
me.
bit.
It's just a nice pose.
We're up for
Boy,
interpretation.
we're already up to breaking Batman's back here?
Yes.
That happened fast.
Nightfall. Yep.
Yep, and
His costume's very stretchy.
the end of Coast City had to be right around there too.
Yep.
Broke Batman's back, not the costume.
Ooh, a great 2-page ad for the Batman Returns Super Nintendo game. Really good
So
ad art.
the Steel series ran for 53 issues, if you count it 0 issue.
Yes.
Two primary writers were Louise Simonson, and wow,
Wheezy.
and Christopher Priest.
The Christopher Priest run, I think, had Dennis Cowan on art.
It did.
That I'd be interested in checking that
Yeah.
out just for the Dennis Cowan.
The only unfortunate thing is I think it ends kind of abruptly.
No.
Insane figure here.
Yeah, what is happening?
I don't know.
I'm not really sure. Looks like somebody has the power to make themselves very large, kind of like a
blob.
yeah,
type?
like a blob.
Okay.
Got some good art here. Well, reasonable art. Steel can be drawn almost any way and always look good. It's usually his supporting cast that seems to draw him down.
He's definitely.
Boy, are they
most-
just straight up ripping off the 93 bullpen bulletin right there?
Yeah,
DC,
DC
Universe.
Universe, yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's
Yep.
dope.
Rube's Soap Dish, The Bull's Udder, Gripe Line, Don't Even Wait for It. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I love that that's parody.
And I do like that the letters page is called Tempered Steel. All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah, he's definitely the best looking thing in his book.
Every
Yeah.
time. Every time.
Little Mortal Kombat.
Yep, this is the ad
Moral
that you can
Kombat.
find
Moral Kombat.
graphed directly
And
on the
Moral
back of bags and boards from 90s comics that have been sitting there for 30 years.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Remember,
we spent a whole day doing that. It was fun.
we had a bag and board that we pulled out, and we're like, what is on the back of this? Like, there was some kind of image, but you couldn't tell what was there, and it was sun damage, or not sun damage, because wouldn't have been facing the sun, but the ink
The
from the
heat,
Mortal
yeah.
Kombat ad pressed off onto the board over the course of 30 years. So it was a backwards Mortal Kombat ad that we figured out after a while. But
Yeah.
it was just a really cool, like, random, like, never seen that before.
So now I always look at bags and boards when I'm looking at old stuff to see what ads are on it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Power of time.
The power of time. It waits for no
and
one.
heat.
Do we want to talk about the movie?
yeah,
Yeah, let's.
Do you want to talk about the movie, Martin?
sure.
Go for it.
The 1997 anti-hit.
Anti-hit.
It's
I had the box.
it was painful. It was it 2.7 million. It made grand total or something.
Was it 1.7 million
Ooh.
off of a $17 million budget or 16 million?
1.7 million off of a $16 million budget. It was a failure to say the least.
Which is shocking to me that it's Shaquille O'Neal, and at the time, Jordan is still there, but
Yeah.
arguably one of the biggest basketball
Yep.
players. Like, you're building the next Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's an established guy who's like, a box off. Well, I'm not sure how well the Looney Tunes.
Space Jam.
When did
was
Space Jam?
huge.
Yeah, was
Space
when-
Jam was
That
96.
I thought Space Jam was 90.
But whatever.
You guys
You're
looked through it.
building the next that we're like, okay, he's done a Blue Chips movie, which was an adult, basketball drama. Does Kazam, which stinks. But they're still trying to find some kind of vehicle for him, and it looks like a lot of the shooting takes place during the summer. There's a few-week period where it's like we're trying to build this guy into a media personality.
Space Jam 96.
You've got
I wasn't alive.
a DC comic property here that I think is interesting. The time frame is somewhat relevant. That Superman only died a few years ago, and it was the biggest thing in the universe. And it just, I don't understand how that didn't do more than 1.7 million. But whatever.
Well, I think part of the problem is that it's so vanilla for what it should be, where they tried to cut as much superheroics out of it. They did not embrace trying to appeal to an African American audience. I don't think it appeals to a young audience. I mean, the soundtrack alone is just
sound-
painful.
Yeah.
Which is weird. The soundtrack, if you look at the album that came out with the movie, it's like Ice Cube and a variety of other like artists at the time that I would say were big deals. It's like,
Yep.
oh, The music for none of that's in the movie.
None of it is.
It's just these generic sound beds
All
of,
these
of
generic funk, generic gospel. The montage in the middle of the movie is done to a church choir, basically.
but it's just very uninspired,
Yep.
like as basic as possible type stuff. And again, I assume this is all original music that you're paying a studio musicians for, but like, there's nothing that gets you excited. There's nothing that ramps up the tension. There's nothing that it's just this very, very washed out 8 bars of funk over and over again, where it's just like, okay, I get that there's something here. The little gospel thing that's over and over again, where it's like, there's no real song. It's just the same recycled loops over and over. I don't know.
It was also written by an old white guy, so
Wait, was it?
yeah. Well, he had to be old by that point if he had been involved with Bionic Woman and Incredible Hulk and
Okay.
stuff like that.
So they hired the guy who had done other comic book things.
They sought him out too. He didn't want to do it originally because it was tied more into the that Kevin Smith Superman project they were trying to do at the time, and when that wasn't really working out, they attracted him because he's like, no, this is just a guy in a suit. Just
Because he was
come do
supposed.
that.
You said it was supposed to be a tied to Death of Superman movie that never materialized. So then it was repackaged as a standalone thing, getting away from the superhero tropes. Like, they do reference Superman, and they make a joke about the Bat Cave, but it's also in the context of, well, they're not referencing that Superman's a real
or
superhero.
that it even takes place in the DC.
Yeah,
world.
you could be
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
You're reading comics, and these are just pop culture references that they're making in the movie. So they kind of steered away from a lot of that stuff.
And to set the
which was
record
so
straight, Shaquille O'Neal is not the horrible actor in this movie.
No, he's
He's not even close.
great compared to his companions.
I think it's all relative. There's a lot of bad acting.
What about
and
Judd Nelson?
unbelievably bad.
That character is so poorly written.
There's no redeeming qualities.
Yeah, it's okay. You're just evil.
What
All
about
right,
me?
good.
The fact that he kills the female senator, he's in a trial, and Shaq comes out after testifying against him for what his negligent actions that led to the death of the senator, and his first line is to Shaquille O'Neal is like, way to snitch on me. Like, I could have done so many great things in life. Now,
With that government weapons money,
with the government weapons money, and it's just like, you killed the senator. Like, how?
paralyzed someone.
Yeah, you
probably
paralyzed
killed a
somebody
couple
and
others.
killed the senator, and immediately it's just like, well, I could have done a lot more if you didn't snitch on me. And it's like, well, wait a second. Well, couldn't you just, like, wouldn't it be so much easier to blame Shaquille O'Neal for, like, something, or blame Steele for doing, or somebody else? But instead, it's like, he just owns it all. I'm like, well, people are going to die. And it's like, whoa, I don't know, man.
Then he should be in Leavenworth, but he's been discharged.
Yes.
So what else? What else do we like about the movie?
I like the cheesy, campy quality to it. I think it works for it, especially
It
in the
does.
end. More so than Spawn.
Interestingly, this is one of the first 3 African-American superhero movies in that you got a couple weeks prior to this, Spawn comes out, and we've discussed Spawn. But then it's argued that Meteor Man, which came out a couple years prior,
I liked Meteor Man,
but it was a comedy and it wasn't based off of existing comic book material.
but there was comics based on the movie.
Marvel Comics.
Afterwards, yes.
Yes.
But I guess that was the argument that is it the second or third African-American lead superhero movie? Do you count Meteor Man or not as an official?
I would. Why,
No, I think you're
why
wrong,
why don't you count it?
Because again, there was no comic book source material to begin with.
But it's
okay.
still a superhero.
Superhero. You can do original superhero.
No, it
in
has
the
to come
movie.
from a comic book. I think that's the law.
Okay, if we use that criteria, okay, we can do that.
Whatever. It was either the second or third. But interestingly enough, Spawn and
Back to back.
Steel back to back.
Yeah, it was like a month apart.
Yeah, not even, I don't think. Several weeks.
And then just in one short year, you get Blade.
We had one short
yeah,
year
Yeah.
because Blade was 98.
How does this movie look like this? And Blade looks like how Blade looks. Blade
Does-
didn't have a budget.
Exactly.
Does Blade look good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blade still holds
So
up.
we've
weirdly
seen
enough.
Blade recently, and we're saying that it's still.
Some of the special effects are rough, but the cinematography is.
I mean, that
tight and
opening
gritty.
sequence where just the blood pours
Oh,
down. I mean,
you
it's
could watch
beautiful
it now.
still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
the whole sequence.
let's
is
talk about the
amazing.
opening sequence for Steel.
Yeah, on par.
It's go.
We start the movie yesterday for part 1 of viewing, and it just starts, and it's molten metal flowing down. Very generic.
Sound bed.
Nothing exciting going on. No hammer hitting. Nothing. It's just.
And you didn't.
And I go, okay, we know where this movie's going. This is not going to be a dynamic movie.
You didn't even need Shaquille O'Neal in that
No.
sequence. You could have just had somebody in the shadows hammering away at things, and it's implied that they're building something. But it was literally just hot metal floating down a tube for 3 minutes on a generic sound bed, and you're like, that's the
Disappointing.
hook to get you in.
Hot metal.
You know what I would have
floating
done?
on a tube.
I would have gone to go see South Park.
Yeah.
So
What was the movie I was talking about with that?
There
the
was
South
that
Park
the
was
time?
99.
Yeah.
So what would
We were talking about Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West.
Oh,
that's what it was.
okay.
Or
Sidebar, tell that story. That's a good one.
So we were Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
we
came up because
Kevin Kline.
we were talking about that Superman movie that didn't get made. That one of the producers wanted a giant mechanical spider in Superman, and no one wanted to do it. So when the movie got scrapped, he decided to recycle that for Wild Wild West, which opened in 1999. Right, we said 99.
99 was South Park.
And at the same time that South Park opened, and since South Park was R-rated, a lot of kids would be buying tickets for Wild Wild West and then going to see South Park. So Wild Wild West had a bump up in ticket sales due to children trying to game the system.
Good for them.
I like that.
Good for those kids.
Let's hear it for the kids.
Oh, Aaron Fritton liked the street. I figured it out, Martin.
Hmm.
The like thing only comes up when it's on the camera with Aaron and I. If you like it, well, the camera is in a different, or it's on a different
Okay, so
camera.
stay on you.
Let's see. Let's see what happens. Well, there goes that theory.
All right.
Doesn't
Just
look
hit
yet,
it there on the bottom.
Oh.
Is that why you stopped it there?
Yeah, isn't that funny? Michael,
Yes, sir.
your thoughts on the movie? You have
My
any?
thoughts on the movie?
It was a coincidence.
So we were talking a lot about all the reasons that this movie didn't do very well at the box office. If you held up the cover for this movie to anyone,
Oh, yeah.
would you assume that this was a comic book movie? Or at the very least it was inspired by a DC character?
Yeah, I wish we had the...
Oh, I don't know what the DVD VHS art looks like.
It's your head on the...
Oh, yeah, it's just dark and
Every
whatever.
picture of Steel that they used for publicity, because we looked at the action figure line that came out with this
Oh,
movie earlier too. Every photo of Steel that they put out in publication is just so poorly lit. You can't get a read on Shaq's facial expression. He looks pretty much confused.
Yeah, why he's wearing that rubber suit.
Yeah, the only part of that suit that looks like it's made of metal is the chainmail on his neck, and that's only sometimes.
I bet why you mad is one of the reasons that Shaq had to get paid somehow. Hold on, is one of the reasons that Shaq had to get paid somehow, and they couldn't go over the salary cap. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
I didn't come across anything talking about his salary, and
Okay.
so I can't answer that.
Wasn't there an issue with production, like they only had a certain amount of time to record his
Yes.
scenes?
They did. Apparently, there was a 6-week window or something which they were filming Steel, and he actually only had 5 weeks because he was getting ready to play for the '96 Summer Olympic team. So filmed in '96.
51-day shoot, 32 full nights shooting downtown Los Angeles.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yep.
But he ended up, Shaq, to his credit, hired an acting coach.
Yes.
And again, he's not great, but he's not terrible in this movie,
He's doing
especially with
his
the surrounding cast that's god awful. But he came into the shoot as a professional. He had memorized the entire script, and I believe maybe he even has like. Does he have like a dyslexia or something like that, or issues with? But anyway, he can't. Doesn't matter. I don't want to spread false rumors. But came in apparently was super professional. That he had the entire script memorized and was ready to go because he only had this window because he had to go start getting ready for the Olympic basketball team, whatever it was that 30-something days later. So I thought that was interesting. The professional that Shaquille O'Neal is. Right, Martin? Aaron's looking up weird pictures of other Steel movies that we can't show on camera.
Of course he is.
I just typed in Steel movie. Just what came up.
Nothing good's happening over there.
Do
Buckle up, kids.
we want to get into do we have anything else for the movie? we want to touch on, or we want to go to the current?
Should we ruin one of the best parts of the movie?
Absolutely, we should. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Who cares?
Let's
It's
talk,
a 1990s movie.
Let's talk about Steele's love interest.
Love interest. So basically, all the women in this movie, except for his grandmother, either end up dead or fatally injured. His friend.
That was so annoying.
Sparks, it really is. I want to talk about that too.
Okay.
His friend Sparks, she gets paralyzed at the beginning of it, so she's in a wheelchair. And I referred to her as a low rent Oracle as a joke, only to discover that they were basing her partly off Oracle. So
It's funny when you said low rent Oracle. I was like, that's so true. And then it was true.
It was true. During the climax of the movie, she's been captured. She's in her wheelchair. Some stuff's going down. And what happens, Michael?
What happens? Oh my God. She has modified her wheelchair.
So you think if you're kidnapping a woman who's paralyzed from the waist down and is in a wheelchair, you're kidnapping a woman. You're a government, not a government agency. You're a terrorist group.
Yep.
Kidnapping a woman who's in a wheelchair, that maybe you would check to see if that wheelchair had like laser guns and
missile
like
launchers and apparently nitrous.
and you wouldn't just be like,
Thrusters.
okay, you wouldn't just take her weapon and bring her weapon with her. You would, maybe transport her to like a more simplistic traditional wheelchair as opposed to like
the
space age technology battle ready wheelchair. So I thought that it was a poor choice by the villains. If you
Yes.
kidnap a woman who's paralyzed from the waist down, inspect their wheelchair for laser weapons. I think is the big lesson.
I think
there.
that's the lesson that I took away from the movie.
Yeah, because you never know if they have a few missiles up their sleeve or not. I would like to tangent onto that. They made an action figure of this also, so you can get an action figure of, what was her name again? Sparks. You can get-
I don't know what her name. It was
Sparks.
his
You can get
nickname.
an action figure of Sparks with a wheelchair that shoots missiles. It's on eBay if anyone's interested.
And it doesn't even look like the wheelchair from the movie. It looks like the
No.
Professor X,
does.
like
It
a silver
does.
Professor X wheelchair
Yeah.
that's like.
There's something so great about her wheelchair being purple too. The purple wheelchair shooting missiles and doing
Yeah.
all of this ridiculous stuff. But yeah, they just gave it like a basic matte gray for the figure with a oddly colored yellow projectile to go along with it. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's about all that needs to be said about Steel. The best part of the movie is Shaquille O'Neal's acting and wheelchair missile launchers.
Talk about the relationship really quick between Shaquille
Yeah.
O'Neal and Sparky or whatever.
Yeah, John in this Spark character, Spark or Sparky? Johnny
he
and
calls
Sparky.
Sparky,
Yeah.
which I made a whatever.
So they have a friendly,
Charles
flirty interactions the entire time. Some of it more pointed than not. And at the end of the movie, she has modified her wheelchair once more. That gives her the function to stand up. And so they, the big romance moment is a nice, friendly hug at the end.
I can't.
He doesn't even
believe
get a kiss in this.
They
movie.
didn't
Yeah.
kiss. There's such chemistry or whatever
Yeah.
between the two characters the whole time. Very flirty, very fun. And at the end, they should have smooched. And it was what? Huh? Oh, his big sausage finger. Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal has a big sausage finger.
They
But
like to
it just,
point each other a lot.
but it was just disappointing that it was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's how the love interest ends. Is like they hugged. Like, come on.
Well, that's why you need to buy the action figures.
Yeah,
so that way
exactly.
you can make them kiss like they should have in the movie.
do other things. What?
Make 3-point shots.
3-point shots. Yeah. Oh God, the basketball, the forced basketball.
Oh, the grenade! Remember?
Well, there's several times where it's like
Yeah,
they make
it's-
fun of the fact that Shaquille O'Neal can't shoot free throws.
You know how, like in a movie, they'll show you things ahead of time that'll pay off later in the movie. So
Foreshadowing?
yes, thank you. It's not like foreshadowing, but it's like the audience is stupid. We have to put this very obvious thing in there.
Schrodinger's gun. No, not what.
That's his cat.
Somebody's gun.
The store gun?
No,
No,
it's
it's
a
a different
different
thing.
thing. The store gun. Well, you know what I'm talking about. It's like it's a Russian type name. It's a literary term where like if you show
We're
if
stupid, Aaron.
if
We
you
don't know
if you
things.
show a gun in Act 1, it's going to pay off in Act 3, or whatever.
Yeah.
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 Now that we've
look
lost
it
our
up.
train of thought,
I'll
what
look it
were
up.
But yeah, basketball. Yeah, they made a point of this like 2 times, and then he has to have the redemption grenade launch.
Yes.
Grenade
Grenade that
free
wasn't
throw.
even going to go off, I don't
Yeah,
think, because it took like
yeah,
40 minutes from
they
to do
did.
this.
They had a pin was pulled for a good 2 or 3 minutes. It felt like as they try to figure out what to do with the grenade.
Which
It is a fun movie, though. I do.
It is.
You enjoy the beginning. Is it takes forever to get in the costume, but once that hits, it's actually quite enjoyable.
very
Chekhov's
fun.
gun. Chekhov's gun.
From Star Trek?
Yeah.
That's weird.
You didn't know he had a gun the whole time, huh?
Walter Koenig.
Sneaky guy.
So let's move from one Star Trek reference to another.
Oh,
as
we're
we,
gonna go to
we
Dorn.
slide into
welcome.
Steelworks here.
Couldn't have been done without me.
So
Yeah,
oh, you
I
got
grabbed
it.
it.
Oh, you got it.
Steelworks. So this is the current book that's out. I'm gonna go to the down cam right now.
Dawn of DC.
It's a little
A friendly jumping on
a little out of
point.
focus there. Try to just if you can move that around just a little bit, see what happens. There it is. There it's focused now.
hello.
DC's new reader friendly jumping on point series of books, Dawn of DC. They're not.
They are not user
Written by who?
Michael Dorn, who plays Lieutenant Commander Worf through most of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine.
Tell us about. You can start flipping through too.
Oh,
Tell
yeah,
us
sure.
about all
We'll
the
just-
other comics
We'll just
and
go ahead
books
flip
and
through this.
He has written nothing else that he's been paid for. There's no other. I have no idea why DC approached him to do this, but they did. He was the voice of Steel, I guess, in one animated thing.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's right.
No, that's.
Yeah, from what I read, DC approached him and he said, "Sure."
It's not a bad book. The premise is
That guy looks kind of familiar. He looks vaguely like.
Oh,
the,
he does. He looks
Like the businessman?
like the video game.
the video game designer or whatever that fronts the villain money.
The legitimate businessman.
Yes.
so the gimmick
Who
is
hires.
he's trying to build this technology to make the cities a safer place because we
Yeah.
rely too much on the superheroes.
He wants a metropolis without supers.
Yes. So let's take the superheroes out of Metropolis, make Metropolis just a safer place in regards to its infrastructure and things like that. So we're not all relying on.
And at the heart of Steelworks, there is this technology that Superman brought back from, was it World? Thank you.
Yeah.
That John Henry is going to use to provide free power for the world, basically.
Yeah, what's that called? 0 point energy or something
Yeah.
like that? Where
Yeah,
it's
the
just,
Tony Stark thing.
yes, we're going to have unlimited energy. We're no longer going to need to compete for resources. The world's going to turn into this utopia because we now have a technology that's going to, keep our world safe, whatever. And then we won't need. There'll be less of a reliance on superhero characters. Which I guess goes back to his origin story of, he's working on the construction site, trying to build something. He saves somebody. What if the construction site was safer? What if the building materials were, I don't know.
Yeah.
Little things like that because, they make the point of when Metallo or whatever launches somebody through a building, it's like, who suffers? It's the people inside.
Yes.
Superman
Yes.
comes along and saves the day. But
Let's
like,
use some of this technology that we have that protects the JLA satellites
Yes.
to protect people in everyday life instead of having to rely on Superman swooping in and saving the day.
which
So-
I don't think is a bad gimmick. I think there's some holes in the plot, but I think it's a very beautifully illustrated book. I do like the art in the first 2 issues. You don't like it? Go for it.
Part of the problem I had is that when you get to all the redundant superheroes appearing, everyone looks the same. No one's name is given. There's characters I don't know who they are, and there's 2 super kids floating around. Anybody want to tell me who they are? Go right ahead.
Was that in issue 2?
Issue
Yes.
2, I think.
Okay, well, we'll get to them in a second. So issue 1 ends with the introduction of the villain in this. His name's the Silver Mist. He can phase
made
through
that up.
things. He did.
I thought of that.
Do you like it?
Does he yell, "Witness me"?
No, the only drawback to his power is if he phases into something and doesn't leave it, it will instantly kill him. So that might be something that plays around later. Issue 2 starts off with Steel's niece, who took up the mantle when he retired, and now they work together. Infinity Inc., so on and so forth, working together to deal with the the intruder alert.
I wonder if Icon and Rocket happened first, or if Steel and the niece happened first.
I think it was Icon and Rocket, because I don't think
Yeah, she didn't become
didn't suit up
superhero
for a while.
until towards the end, maybe the end of the
Yeah.
first
Because
run.
visually, like when there's like in this spread here, there's.
Yep.
I feel like there's some similarities to Icon and Rocket.
there he is,
there.
Silver Mist. Kind of Sleepwalker, kind of Spider-Man, kind of Moon Knight, all in one. Design-wise, definitely not power-wise.
Oh, here's a weird page that Aaron you need to look at.
Oh yeah.
We'll keep going, but we're
Oh,
gonna
is
come.
this the one
Which
that
didn't even read well. When I read it last night, it was
Why
like,
did they
oh,
do
yeah.
that?
mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
I remember.
I want you when we're done with this book. I want you to look at this panel with all the lettering talk we've done lately and dissect what's going on there because it's a lot.
Because those lines
Super
leading directly
family.
to the building, they did not need it.
Yeah.
Flowed fine without it.
All right, so here's our
Which-
Superman family.
Yes.
Who are they?
Who are they?
Yeah, point them out. Give me each name for me.
I can't give you each name. I
There you
can
go.
give you.
You're
I can
fired.
give you Superman.
That was easy. Did you
Supergirl?
can't just say super. You can't start with the
Yes, I
easiest,
can.
lowest hanging
You
fruit.
you go low to high. I don't know the Chinese Superman's name.
Don't say it.
What was the name of his book called? This is what I was going to go for, and I can't even think of the name of his book was.
What's that?
He had like a New 52 or maybe an
did.
early rebirth.
I
Yes,
don't
he did.
remember. Yeah.
We have Jonathan Kent. I believe that is supposed to be. No, it can't be. I don't. So these are the two kids we can't
Yeah.
figure out, right?
They're just playing with hammers in the
Okay.
background.
Yeah, I don't know who they are either. And this is Connor Kent, which is really confusing to me because Connor Kent is simultaneously in Steelworks, but in his own ongoing, he's in outer space. But there's only one Connor. There was only ever one Connor Kent, even if he got retconned weird at one point. So I don't really know what's going on with that. But
They're all named John or Jonathan. And that's what gets confusing.
Yeah.
Is that I think keep going to like the next page maybe.
Barbara Kent.
When they're sitting at this, is it this one? I can't tell. But they all start to go John, Jonathan. It just
Yeah, he mentioned this to me, and then when I read it later, I'm like, it's all I could
like you don't know
figure
who's
out.
talking to who.
oh, this one went by. This one went by way faster. We're already to the end where we set up the next issue, and Silver Mist shocks Steel's niece.
At least the ending in 2 was better than the ending in 1. The ending in 1 was such a dud. Like
Yeah.
it's somebody's breaking into the building, but there's no. They don't tease the villain at all. And really, they could have had the last panel be the appearance of the villain, and then you could have the first panel, the second book, be the appearance of the villain.
Yes.
But they just kind of left it as like this generic, like, oh, something's happening.
Classic comic book structure. You tease the villain in the end of the issue, and then you pay it off in the next
But
issue.
but you
Villain, you're funny looking.
But I wanted to see that
Yeah, yeah.
it was a bad cliffhanger. It could just use one more little element, and that
Well,
was it.
it's a pasty scientist white guy who's naked. I don't really think you
No,
want
what?
to see it.
That's the villain.
Yes,
Yep.
Yeah, he hadn't had his
So-
costume at that point.
Yes.
He needs to be nude.
yes.
Yeah.
Because he can't, because he's phasing out of clothing or whatever. I don't know.
The Silver Mist suit's the only thing that will phase with him.
Why would you?
Did you give this back to me
Uh-oh.
for a reason?
Oh, just to show the disappointing last page.
Oh, yep. Disappointing last page.
Although those info pages on the back proved to be a little bit helpful.
they put the arrows
Yeah,
in there to
so
make it-
there's collateral damage reports that give you a list of casualties and the approximate property damage caused by all of these DC hero events, whether it be the Battle of Doomsday.
And then in 2, it's telling
yes.
about the Superwoman, the 2 parts, and how Lana Lang has powers and doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh, because you get Lana Lang stuff later on. Okay,
Yeah.
no, that's cool. I kind of
Yeah.
just skipped that as I was reading through, but I like
I almost
that.
did too, and then I was like, oh,
No, that's a good gimmicky
okay,
thing.
it was some parallel world Lois and Lana that were combined that had the very brief, I believe it was Rebirth series with the Superwoman. Yeah.
Yep, I just looked at that earlier because the Lana Lang thing comes up again in issue 3,
Yeah.
where Steel and Superman are trying to deal with the threat of the Silver Mist together.
It's astonishing how convoluted base continuity is. New 52, Rebirth has just made all of the Superman books.
Yeah. And I think we won't go through this whole book. I think we'll want to leave a couple
Yeah.
spoilers because
Okay.
this is the new,
Then
the art team changes a little bit in this. I like
Yeah.
the
That's
art
where I
a
like this
little.
style.
I like it better.
I like it a little less. That's
Oh, really?
interesting. Yeah.
Yep, there's an exact moment after an ad. It's right here. I don't know how well it'll translate on the doc cam, but like right after that, we have a different color scheme that follows through for the rest of the book. Oh no,
Is it
actually,
like
it's right here.
nighttime?
No, it looks like they're just there's a different either inker or colorist
Something,
or
yeah.
something
Yeah.
that is inserted in the halfway point of the issue 3. It
Just
just
take
it
a
just
look
takes a
at-
different tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a look at this page and then flip over to this page. I'm gonna pass. it.
Actually, we're going to look at one other thing real quick before we look at that. Aaron's got something here that I want to
Oh,
go through
good.
this page
Oh,
again.
this thing? Let me hold it up like that.
Yeah. So just Aaron and I have been talking about a lot of lettering, a lot of design,
Sorry.
and there's a thing where they want you to go down the left-hand panel into the elevator and then go up on the elevator. And I understand that, but I think the word balloons get very convoluted. there's little
Those
when-
tails
there's
going
little
up,
tails
yeah,
that are
those aren't
pointing that are
necessary.
like it just gets very
Yeah.
confusing as to what you're reading here. And I think it's a page that tried really hard but failed in execution. That I'm not a fan of. I applaud the attempt, but Aaron, I'm not sure what your take is on that.
It was polite that they gave us the arrows, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, without the arrows, I don't think it works.
I almost wonder if it was the tails sticking in towards the building first, and then some editor realized, no, this isn't going to work because
Because that's usually a big no-no
Yeah.
to do a big tall panel with panels to the other side of it, because it's tough to figure out. Or maybe it's the I'd have to pick up the one of my textbooks, but there's one where a big vertical panel next to multiples is a big no-no.
I always think it's actually the reverse of that. Like I would call it the left-hand stack, where if you have a bunch of panels on the left and then one long vertical panel on the right, you're going to read that first small panel on the left first.
Yeah.
Your eye wants to go to the second longer panel,
Yes.
but then it creates confusion coming back to the other panels in that left-hand stack. So that would be, and that's where you would use tails in your letters to get people to read through the left-hand stack first and then go to your larger right-hand panel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be my take. And it's just kind of a reverse of that, which is also really weird and just reads, it tries. And I'm not saying that you can't figure this out, but I don't think this is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I see what they're trying to do, and I think people can figure it out. But like, I think people like us can figure it out. But if you handed this to somebody who hadn't read a comic before, I think they're
Yeah.
going to be very confused at this point. And I think there's a way to show elevation without breaking the format, like rising elevation without breaking format. But
And the arrows, too, I think the arrows obviously tell you, but I think it's a little bit cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some kind of like speed line stuff? I don't even know. To get it to read bottom up, but I'm not
Well,
sure.
I guess Aaron has a challenge for next week. Aaron, redesign that page.
I'm not going to do that. But what I might do is have the little floors indicated, like
Yeah.
the little, and then be like bing,
Yeah.
bing, bing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
on it to indicate that they are.
All right,
going
what's
up higher?
What's our last little thing we're going to look at here, and then we'll.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
just,
you
I
just-
was
the
trying
art-
to make
the-
Aaron
just for
see
Aaron to-
the coloring difference. So there's that isn't something that really needs to be done on the doc.
You can flip it around the other way, or is it right way up for you?
No, flip it around the other way.
Yeah, flip it,
All right.
because we can
And
see it over
reverse
here.
it.
Okay, you guys can see it
Yes.
over
Yep.
here. So here's the other art, and then
Yeah, lots of blue.
yep, this is where it got very noticeable for me.
Yeah, it
You'll
feels
have to
like
take a look
very
at it
ni-
off camera.
But
But
it's
it,
very 1990s.
it was one of those things where flipping through, I was like, I needed to go back and grab issue 1 and 2 because I'm like, wait a second, is this the same art team?
It shows up better
a
off
lot,
the
lot
doc.
more oranges and stuff.
Yeah.
Here, we'll pass it over your
All
way.
right.
So much.
Oh, well, I think that kind of. Do we have anything else we want to talk about Steelwise? I like the Steelworks book.
When the,
I'm excited for
we have,
the next.
we have all 3 issues, so you can start there. But definitely, I think this is going to be good as a trade, and I hope it actually does lead to something more with
Steel.
these characters because
I do. I think it's an interesting
Yeah.
character. I like the idea again of he's trying to approach this from an engineering standpoint. How can we engineer a better city, a better metropolis to keep everybody safe?
Correct.
So we're not as reliant on our heroes. And I think it's funny too, for as much as he says, not to be reliant on heroes. How many times does he transform into steel and have to
Yeah.
fight as a hero? But I think it's a good story. And if this is the first thing that Michael Dorn's ever written, hey, congrats to
He's-
him.
Yeah, he's doing
which
great.
I don't think the credits say he's got anybody writing under him either.
No, I think it just says Michael Dorn.
Although the created by information is hilarious. Every character gets referenced except for Steel. Let's see, Steelworks.
I think they say Louis Simonson and
They do.
I don't think they do.
they do.
I don't see it on the
Really?
the credits page, at least
Yeah.
for this.
It's Superman, Supergirl, Superboy, but nothing about Steel.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was funny
Okay,
because
all right.
the second time I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird that they don't have.
That they wouldn't credit them
Yeah.
for creating steel. Okay. Well, I know. It's Wheezy. What can you do?
I know.
You got to respect the Wheeze.
Wheeze and the juice.
That's right.
She's the reason that we have all our X-Men crossovers every year. She was reading Claremont's stuff on the Mutant Massacre and said this would be great to put into the other book. And they're like, okay, let's do a big crossover.
Now we know.
Well, in her defense, that one was one of the best ones that was done.
No, she's not the one that beat it into the ground.
Yeah. Once again, corporate just
Although-
learning the wrong lessons.
Yes.
Hellfire Gala.
Hellfire Gala was great.
Did you? Yeah, that he was been talking it up for like a week, and
Well, Jake Hedges told me to read it. He's like, "You haven't read the next book in a while." I was like, "No." He's like, "Read Hellfire Gala." He goes, "There's not a lot of Hellfire Gala in it." I was like, "All right."
huge book. It never stopped. It was great.
Yeah, I know. It was 80 pages, and it was just kind of like, not that there was a slow start, because Jake, the way he pitched it to me was, oh, there's not much Gala. It gets to the action,
yeah.
and it takes a couple pages to get to the action. It's a couple,
Which
more
I'm
than I
glad
thought.
because I'm not really
But then
up to date on
it
everything.
takes off like a freight train, and it's just like, oh my god, this is wild. But a good recommendation. Hellfire Gala, Steelworks. I think Steelworks is a very solid series as well. Hopefully, it can turn out to
Definitely
be
one
a
of the
good trade.
stronger of the Dawn of DC launches.
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
Yeah.
It's Kelly and Kenny approved.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else?
Do you guys got anything going on in the near future?
Oh, this Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. 4 p.m. Let me change the camera. 4 p.m. to 6:30. Tuesday, the 29th. We're going to be at the Oswego Public Library, and we're going to do a comics workshop. Aaron?
We've got paper, we've got pens, we've got markers, we've got ideas.
Crayons?
No crayons.
No crayons. I'm not
No
showing up.
crayons. Do not show up with a crayon. We will slap it out of your hand. No, I'm just kidding.
Especially rose art. If you show up with the rose art,
Those
we,
aren't even crayons.
we
You can't call
may
them
we
crayons.
may take your library card.
That's right. We reserve the right to confiscate any library card of anybody with subpar materials.
You'll
But
stab
don't-
them with a Ticonderoga pencil.
The number two, the number
Only.
Yes,
Only number 2 Ticonderoga with the wonderful eraser.
we bought erasers. We've got everything. You don't need to bring anything. Bring some art supplies with you if you want, but we got you
Yeah.
all covered. We're going to do some character design stuff.
Yep.
We're going to talk about how comic strips work. We're going to talk about how comic pages work. And we got some really nice paper for you to lay everything out on. Aaron and I will be there to guide you through it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, come out Tuesday, the 29th, August, at the Oswego Public Library.
4 to 6:30.
4 to 6:30 on East First Street. And
West East First
West
Street.
East First Street. East First Street.
It's not confusing at all.
I know. I'm sorry.
Look for the castle, but
But,
that's not the armory.
Castle on
the
the
castle
hill.
on the east side.
But yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna make some art. We're gonna do some comic stuff.
Yeah, it should be. It should be a good time. We got a good presentation
And
ready for you.
and if not, it's free.
Yeah, let's hang out, and make some comics.
Yeah,
That's
we'll have a
all
good
I
time.
want to do. Yeah, so that's coming up. What else is going on? I'm waiting on my my proof copies
Here we go.
from Kablam of Was the Robot the Collected Edition. It's being processed right now. They're
No, that's exciting.
they're printing them, they're chopping them, they're gluing them,
Mm-hmm.
and then that'll be
Yes,
one step away from.
It's like how they make hot dogs.
it is.
It's the exact same
Same
way.
process.
Like when you see these books and you give them a good sniff, they smell exactly like a hot dog.
Especially Chapter 8 when it's Hot Dog Day.
Yeah.
Exact.
Oh wow! I forgot all about what's
Chapter
great.
chapter 9.
Chapter.
Is it Chapter 9?
Oh yeah, because
Chapter 9.
you're thinking because it was the preview that we had ahead of time, so that would make it 8.
I know what I'm talking about. It was issue 8. Martin, you got anything?
I got nothing.
Michael?
Nope, nothing.
just gonna
Go visit Aaron and Evan at the comic shop or at the library next week. Visit them at the comic shop too.
Yeah, come here too. We're here.
I'm here sometimes
Yeah.
More often
by
than
appointment.
not.
By appointment only.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. I think that's all we got.
All right, bye.
Thanks for joining our stream.
Apologies to Jack Kirby
Apologies to Jack Kirby.
and Wheezy.
Well, we.